Previously on the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast.
For our next stop, we are going to be accompanied by the Fifth Doctor, and we will be moving a little bit further away from London. And instead, we are going to be going to an area of the galaxy that brought me into Doctor Who, of which possibly maybe I might retell that story next time. We are going to be going to Zeta Major. Which is the name of a book by Simon Messingham.
Okay, and that's a Past Doctor?
I think that's the BBC Adventure. Yes, it's BBC Past Doctor Adventure.
Cool. So,
yes.
I want to say Zeta Major, but
yeah.
Zeta.
So I think it's Zeta is how they pronounce it. You'll be pleased to hear that it features Tegan. So hopefully that will keep you going.
And now our story continues.
Welcome, everyone, to the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast. This is Matt in Minnesota.
Chris in South London. How's it going, Matt?
Going quite well, Chris. Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year to you. Let's hope that 2026 has some actual Doctor Who in it.
That would be lovely.
Yes.
Even if we have to wait till the very end of the year.
Yes. Yeah. Well, televised Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I can hear Kenny Smith and others say, you know there's going to be Big Finish, you know there's going to be books, and you know there's going to be comics. I'm like, yes.
Oh, and there's going to be the big Circuit Breaker event this year, which is all Fugitive Doctor related.
Yes.
And speaking of the Fugitive Doctor, next weekend is Console Room.
Yes.
Our guests are Joe Martin, Daphne Ashbrook, and Wendy Padbury. So we have all three eras of the show represented.
Is an hour and a half an era?
Decade plus is
yes,
an era, yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, it should be fun. And listeners, you can join virtually for free at the Cybermite level, or if you get a membership, that will unlock all of the main stage content. And Chris and I will be appearing on a panel together about obscure Doctor Who companions.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to talking about like the Shalka Master and Grant Markham and Catherine Broom and Antimony and the Mortimers and all sorts.
Yes. Speaking of Shalka, I've been watching Slow Horses over Christmas, pretty much from scratch. And Sophie Okonedo, who is the companion in Screaming Shalka, is very much in that. So, yes.
And you mentioned Big Finish earlier. There's a new 20-minute documentary about Benny that came out on Big Finish's YouTube site. I feel like this is maybe a year or two delayed.
Yes.
Given some comments that Lisa Barman had made a couple years back now. But glad it's finally arrived.
Yes. I have yet to watch that. Dear listener, my house is very busy at the moment for the festive period. However, everybody leaves apart from me by Tuesday. So I suspect I will probably next week be sort of sitting down and just watching that and just having some quiet time. So, but yeah,
it's a good segue to show and tell.
Indeed,
because over the festive break, I've been catching up on some television and movies, and specifically, I finally got around to watching the Hobbit trilogy for the first time.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
In 3D, no less.
Right.
With Sylvester McCoy and Ian McKellen, of course.
Okay, yes.
And I was surprised Dean O'Gorman is in it. He's one of the dwarves. I know him from his work on Xena. Met him back in the day.
Oh, okay.
Or I should say young Hercules opposite Ryan Gosling.
Right, okay.
And then I've also been watching the Chronicles of Narnia. The late 80s adaptation that recently came out on Blu-ray.
Oh!
Which, of course, features Emperor Warwick Davis as Reepicheep and
Yes.
Tom Baker as Puddleglum in the Silver Chair.
Yes.
And that's done by the same folks that do Doctor Who on Blu-ray, so the extras and stuff are really fascinating.
Yes, I haven't watched those in years, but I did very much enjoy them at the time. And and I think the Silver Chair was kind of like the last adaptation they did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they got 4 of the 7 done.
Yeah. Well, The Horse and His Boy is a bit weird, and though I very much enjoyed it as a kid, and yes, and some of the others are interesting of their time, I guess. Certainly the final one, that would be hard to do that as a tea time story, but I shan't say any more for spoilers because I think they're being adapted by... Are they being adapted by Netflix? Have I made that up?
Are they?
I think someone's turning them into a TV series, or something, I don't know.
How about you for show and tell?
So, for me, for show and tell, I've also been watching television. I've been watching something you might have heard of, featuring a conflict between some water and some land. So, yes, on account of living in the UK, I've been fortunate enough to watch the war between land and the sea. I will not say any spoilers, but I will say, much to my amazement, my mum utterly adored it. To the point where, because she'd got ahead of where I was at in it, and she was very happy to rewatch episodes 3 and 4, and she said that she'll probably watch them again later because she just loved it. I think it's very well done. Yeah, there are some things where I kind of go, okay, but I think they've done us proud, and I definitely see how we can do unit miniseries in the future, if that is where part of the future lies. Yeah, I'd be delighted.
I think it's kind of interesting that Ingrid Oliver keeps reprising her role for Big Finish, but hasn't been back on screen opposite Kate and stuff. But maybe she's off in Peru.
Yeah, she is a busy actor. She does do other things and stuff, and so I mean, who knows? But certainly, I didn't find myself going, oh, I wish she was here. I mean, I didn't miss her. But anyway, right, I shan't say any more because I don't want to inadvertently spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it. But yes, it's good, I think.
I look forward to watching it eventually someday.
Yes. When Disney gets around to releasing it, yes, yeah.
And I was counting the other day, I think Kate Lethbridge-Stewart now has worked opposite the same number of doctors that Nicholas Courtney had.
Yeah, probably.
And I mean, speaking not as like Brett Viren or anything, but I think it's 7 and 7 if you count the War Doctor and the Fugitive Doctor in there for Kate. So
yeah. Well, has she met the Fugitive Doctor?
I think so. If not on screen, then certainly in Big Finish.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And it depends on if you count Colin Baker in.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
But same with Paul McGann as well.
Yes. But I'll also do an oddball mention for The Roses, which I think you've mentioned before.
I saw one of the few movies I saw theatrically this year.
Yes, and I loved that. And Ncuti Gatwa, which is one of the many Doctor Who connections, but like one that immediately jumps to mind, as well as Olivia Colman, is very fine in that. Though I will say, it's set in California. Most of it is filmed about half an hour's drive from my mum's.
Oh.
So I don't know whether your disbelief was suspended. I mean, probably because you wouldn't necessarily have gone, oh, I know that. That's in Devon. So maybe you thought it was California.
I did, yeah. It fooled me.
Yeah, no, it is almost entirely filmed in Devon Cornwall. And Devon Cornwall looks gorgeous in it. It's just occasionally when American accents suddenly appear, it snaps me out of it because I'm like, oh, what? But still, it's very entertaining. I was a bit nervous. I didn't think it would necessarily be a film for all the family. I don't think it is a film for all the family, but certainly it's a film that I could watch with my mum. Dear listener, if you have a living parent or parents, I don't know whether necessarily it's one that you can watch with yours, but I was able to get away with it. So, yeah.
Lovely.
So anyway, right.
So this month,
yes,
we have read. Let me make sure I pronounce this correctly. Zeta Major. Zeta Major.
Zeta. Yeah, Zeta Major. Yes.
Which is a sequel of sorts to Planet of Evil.
Yes.
And it was the 13th Past Doctor adventure, originally published in July of 1998, featuring 16 untitled chapters, a prologue, and an epilogue, organized into 3 parts: The Tower, The Court, and Zeta Major.
Yes.
And it is set between Arc of Infinity and Snake Dance. and it's written by Simon Messingham,
Yeah.
who I think has written a few Doctor Who novels.
Yeah, so he only wrote one new adventure, which was Strange England. He wrote two Eighth Doctor adventures, which was The Face Eater and The Infinity Race, and wrote three Past Doctor adventures for the BBC, which is this one, two more Valdemar, and The Indestructible Man. So, unless I'm much mistaken, I think this is the first novel of his that we've read, possibly the first thing of his that we've read, end of story.
Yeah.
And he also wrote some 10th Doctor adventures as well.
Yeah, one on audio and one in prose.
Yeah.
And it is set 30,000 years in the future plus 2,000 more.
Yes.
And you mentioned last month, Chris, you had something to share related to Planet of Evil. Did you want to?
Yeah, so Planet of Evil is how I got into Doctor Who. Because we were just channel hopping one day when I was growing up, and we chanced upon an omnibus of Planet of Evil, and I was just hooked. It freaked my brother out, which I think added to it, but yeah, I just adored it. I thought it was just fantastic, and I think I just sat there gripped. And it wasn't until a few years later that I happened to catch another repeat of Planet of Evil that I recognised, I realised which story it was, because one of the things that really seared itself into my mind was Sarah Jane in the capsule being kind of like shot out into space. But I mean, I think it was just this weird horror thing, and I think I was been probably about 6 or 7 maybe, and it was just fantastic. And also because my mum knew that my dad had a copy of the Five Doctors hanging around, we then, I think, kind of like the next day watched that, and that was me.
Wow.
So yeah, so Planet of Evil did hook me in, so I've had my eye on this book for a little while.
I did rewatch Planet of Evil.
Yeah.
I would say concurrently with reading the book.
Okay.
Not quite the same time, but yeah, if this was your first exposure to Doctor Who, I applaud you all the more for sticking with it. My first exposure to Doctor Who was the TV movie, and I'm still here, so it takes all sorts of adventures.
It takes all sorts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but I think also because I quite like the ones that are a little bit more horror inclined, so I think it makes sense that this kind of like caught me. I mean, if it had been sort of like Black Orchid or the Gunfighters or something, I'm not sure. But yeah, I know some people really don't rate Planet of Evil, and so I know that it's possibly regarded by some as one of the lesser Hinchcliffe stories, and that's fine. Yeah, I also as well have fondness for Time Lash, mainly because of like when I came across it, etc. So yeah, I think we're all allowed to have our blind spots, and
it takes all sorts. Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, I do think I didn't get time to watch the final episode of Planet of Evil, but I did rewatch parts 1 through to 3, and I thought it stood up.
Yeah, I did enjoy watching it. It was just I think I started it like late at night and ended up falling asleep a few times, so I had to like back it up and restart it. So
yes,
but during the day it held my interest. So
yes.
Go.
But also as well, I think Zeta Major does not necessarily need you to be super familiar with Planet of Evil. So dear listener, if you have not read Zeta Major and you're kind of going, oh, I vaguely remember Planet of Evil, you don't need to kind of like go away and watch it or anything to appreciate this episode, I would have thought. But yeah.
Well, shall we jump in?
Yeah, let's.
All right. So after nearly 2,000 years of research and construction, the Morestan Orthodox Church, and I think I'm pronouncing that right, Morestan?
Yes.
The Morestan almost be ready to activate their energy tower. And this energy tower is a gigantic structure. Think of like a space elevator with lots of filaments and stretching out into space. But instead of celebrating their achievement, they have cut off all communication within the Omega system, which is where the tower is being built. And a renegade branch of the cult of scientists, because it's kind of a church versus science kind of a
vibe. Yes.
Second or third book, not quite in a row with these sort of antagonists, but
yes, this isn't a deliberate ploy. So, yes.
So there's a renegade branch known as the Cult of Scientists, which believes that this tower is a false means of gaining power for the church, because these solar systems have invested all their resources for like the past 2 millennia into building this thing.
Yeah.
And the cult of scientists sends a covert mission to find the fabled planet Zeta Minor, which is the planet of evil from Planet of Evil, and relaunch Professor Sorensen's original scheme to mine antimatter. So this is what his expedition was doing in the Tom Baker story.
Yeah.
But the mission is infiltrated by a secret agent from the church who transmits the coordinates of Zeta Minor back to the homeworld, which kills the rest of the team, and is then himself killed by the creatures which haunt the planet of evil.
Yeah, and in that sequence, when we see the mission, we see the grave of, is it Edgar Lum? Who we see Edgar Lum's grave at the start of Planet of Evil, so it's quite a nice little callback. So you might be thinking, I don't remember there being so much talk of church and religion in Planet of Evil. So, listener, you may be right. Hold on to that thought. Yeah. So, the church's greatest agent, who goes by the name of Christian Fall. That's a Bond villain-esque name, isn't it? So, Christian Fall was imprisoned for life after betraying the church in a quest for personal power. But now the church need him again, and so he's released and put in charge of the Zeta Project. Ferdinand de Vindis, a zealot who has devoted his life to destroying the church, discovers this conspiracy to release Christian Fall and comes to believe that this is related to the problems with the energy tower and also the mysterious suicide of Brother Robeson, who was a brilliant student from the Sorensen Academy. So Ferdinand is employed by 2 brothers, Hippolyto and Antonio, who rule the Morestan imperial families. And the church has promised to share power with these imperial families once the tower is complete. However, Hippolyto and Antonio, the brothers, don't believe this promise will be kept. And one of their other agents, who has infiltrated the cult of scientists, has joined a mission to discover what's going on at the energy tower. So that's quite a bit of setup.
And do we want to do the dramatic reading around here?
Yeah, let's do the dramatic reading. Yes. So our reading this month comes from Dr. Brandon Graffius, who has written Scared by the Bible, The Roots of Horror in Scripture. Yeah, and you can have a look at his book on all the various different book buying things, and also he has a website. So let's have a listen.
And lo, the doctor did descend into the great pool of darkness with Sorensen, who was mighty afflicted by demons, and there did he battle with the dark gods. 40 days and nights the doctor fought there, on the other side, against those who would harm him. Free this man, he cried, for he will not submit to the will of the evil ones. And the dark god's power was broken, and Sorensen was freed from his spell. And when they returned to Salamar and the handmaiden Sarah, who themselves fought those who had come over, the doctor spake, saying, Listen, I have overcome demons and found their secrets. You, true Morestrons, must be guardians of all the universe. You must harness the movements of the planets and keep this gate into the abyss locked and secret for all time. Sorensen will lead you unto greatness, for though the Dark Ones are banished, they can never truly die. They may return once more when the stars are right. Only the true and faithful Morestrons may sustain the world of light. Build, Morestrons, build! Build the great tower of gold that will lock the gate forever and lead your race into eternal glory. Salamar did ponder upon the doctor's words and pronounced them wise. Sorensen was to be the architect of a new age. Of the doctor, none can say. He and Sarah were gone. Only Sorensen knew whence, and he spake only of a blue box, which although small to unbelievers, could contain 1,000 faithful souls. Leyenda Negra, New Testament, chapter 22, verses 56 through 61.
Thank you, Brandon, for reading that.
Yes.
And
yes.
we have a bit of a metabilius metabolus thing going on with Marestrin, but
Yes, yeah.
that's totally fine.
That's totally fine. That's totally fine. I love how the text has Sarah, and it is written in the text as SAIR-AH. And there are a few different extracts from other works in this novel. Like sometimes it could be transcripts, and so yeah, you do get a sense of like a rich text, which may or may not float your boat. Yeah, we'll discuss. Right.
Now let's catch up with the doctor,
Yes.
who has been suffering from some horrific visions,
Yes.
and he comes to believe that something is trying to contact him, something so alien that his mind is destroying itself trying to interpret the messages. He manages to materialize the TARDIS on board the energy tower before collapsing into a faint, as the Fifth Doctors want to do.
Yes.
And Tegan and Nyssa set off for help in different directions. So we've got everyone kind of splitting up.
Yeah.
Tegan runs into a patrol of church guards on a mission to seal off this part of the tower, possibly to entrap the scientists' infiltration team, or possibly to seal off something far more dangerous. And when Tegan claims to have arrived with the doctor in the TARDIS, that rings some bells for the church folk, and she's sent to Christian Fall for interrogation. And after the events on Zeta Minor passed into legend, the doctor became a holy figure in church scripture, as we heard from the extract just now. And the energy tower itself is designed to tap the kinetic energy of planetary motion, just as the Fourth Doctor had originally suggested to Sorensen at the end of Planet of Evil. So kind of a direct callback to a rather flippant remark from the Doctor, and they kind of built a whole society around that.
So the Doctor blocks off his subconscious mind, temporarily saving himself from a nervous breakdown, and then sets off to find his companions. So he finds Nyssa, and they meet Petya, who is the Imperial Brothers' agent and the sole survivor of the infiltration team. And the Doctor learns to his horror that the energy tower is fueled by antimatter, as somehow the Morestrans have found a way to remove antimatter from Zeta Minor, and the consequences could be catastrophic for both universes. And just as the rescue ship arrives to collect the infiltration team, they are attacked by an army of anti-men, which is basically the kind of like the werewolf-y forms, isn't it, of Planet of Evil type things.
Also similar to like the werewolfy people in Inferno.
Yes, somewhat. And Petya gives his life so that Doctor and Nyssa can escape.
And so the Doctor and Nyssa are then smuggled onto a ship returning to Alpha Major to take their story to the Imperial Brothers. And on their way, they're reunited with Tegan, who seems somehow to have escaped from Christian Fall. And the Doctor delves into his subconscious and manages to communicate with the anti-universe beings, promising them that he's going to heal the breach. Ferdinand collects them at the spaceport, and Tegan, obeying a post-hypnotic command implemented by Christian Fall, tries to assassinate one of the brothers, Hippolyta, and Tegan manages to shoot him in the arm, but not kill him. But Hippolyta takes advantage of the incident to declare martial law and sever ties with the church. And as the Morestran Empire prepares for civil war, the Doctor breaks Tegan's conditioning and learns she overheard a discussion which implies Christian Fall's involvement in something called the Zeta Project. And by the way, when Zeta Project was mentioned, some listeners may be aware, it's a little-known DC animated series called the Zeta Project that lasted 2 seasons from 2001 to 2002 that was a spin-off from Batman Beyond.
Oh!
So
I'd never heard of this. Okay.
yeah, it's a lesser-known one, but it takes place in the
Right.
same, Bruce Timm animated universe type deal.
Oh, okay, cool.
But that's what kept coming to mind whenever the Zeta Project was mentioned.
Right. Okay. Ferdinand is convinced that Brother Robeson's suicide, so this was the brilliant young student, was no suicide at all. And the Doctor allows Nyssa to infiltrate the Sorensen Academy and try to learn what she can about sort of like what's been going on.
And this is really the only place where science is allowed to be practiced, because it's kind of outlawed, and
Yes.
the whole society is really repressive, and we have yet another society of misogynists treating women horribly.
Yes.
Of which Tegan and Nyssa have much to say on the matter, rightfully so.
Yes, rightfully so. Yes. So she discovers that Brother Robeson had been murdered upon learning that due to a fatal flaw in the dimensional equations, the energy tower, which is the source of all the power of the church and the dreams of the empire, is actually doomed to failure. And yeah, so someone is trying to bury that particularly big bad news. And Nyssa is contacted by a renegade student who's one of the cult of scientists, who's learnt that other students are vanishing to work on the Zeta projects, and intends to sneak on board a mission to Zeta Major to find out what's really going on. Nyssa tries to get word to the Doctor, but the Dean of the Academy, who's been upset because he'd been trying it on and she said no. So the Dean of the Academy sends for confirmation of her credentials, and because we don't have psychic paper in these days, the Dean learnt that Nyssa is an imposter and has her sent to Zeta Major as a project specimen.
So not good for Nyssa.
No, not good.
And so the church officials discover too late that Christian Fall has infiltrated people that he trusts into the Zeta project, and when confronted, his associates stage a coup and seize control of the project. Christian Fall intends to control the energy tower and thus rule the Empire, because it's supposedly going to be an unlimited source of power.
Yeah.
But first he needs the Doctor to help stabilize the antimatter, which is already aboard. So what Nyssa had discovered really is that, like, the perpetual motion calculations were kind of rubbish and would never have resulted in, like, pure free energy, which is kind of another plot we saw recently with the monsters inside, because I think that was the Slitheen plan in that system. But they didn't have the Doctor's help to make the calculations work in this case. So instead, they've been trying to smuggle antimatter crystals off of Zeta Minor to help fuel the power source.
Yeah.
So Christian Fall needs the Doctor's help to stabilize this antimatter. So he contacts the Imperial Brothers and shows them video recordings of the original Zeta Minor incident, so has them watch the Planet of Evil episodes.
Yes!
Complete
Yes.
with introduction.
Yes! I must say, I laughed at that. I mean, this is not a book with an enormous amount of laughs, but I really enjoyed. Yes.
And he's using the tape to prove that this blonde Fifth Doctor is nothing like the curly-haired Fourth Doctor of legend, and is convinced that the Fifth Doctor's an imposter.
Yes.
And the brothers agree to turn the Doctor over to Christian Fall. And the Doctor realizes he's being led into a trap and contacts other church officials in order to save Tegan from having to meet Christian again. And Tegan and Ferdinand are forced to flee and ally themselves with the church after Ferdinand shoots and kills Hippolyto to save the Doctor's life. And so the two brothers are down to one, just the Antonio.
Yeah.
And the Doctor departs with Christian, hoping to stop the Zeta project. Well, Christian Fall refuses to believe the Doctor's claim that it's impossible to somehow stabilize the antimatter. Meanwhile, Antonio, never one to turn down an opportunity, takes advantage of his brother's death to declare open war on the church.
Yeah. One thing that's kind of like happening quite a bit in the background, there's an interesting exploration of the state of the society. We're seeing that like there's lots of kind of like meetings on horseback and stuff like that. Because the thinking is that there's been so much focus on building the tower, but that has held back technology, and if anything, it's regressed it. And also, people are basically just wearing the uniforms that we saw in Planet of Evil. That added an extra little bit of kind of like texture to it. I'm just saying that just because like we're rattling through this synopsis, and it's something that's not easily something that we can kind of like bring out. So I just thought I would make a slight detour.
Yeah, and things like pulling an anti-gravity sled by horses, as you said, because they've allowed the technology to break down and they don't know how to fix things.
Yeah, because they're like a horse-led limousine as well at some point. So the Doctor has by now worked out what's happening. Prisoners were taken to Zeta Minor and exposed to antimatter. And once they'd mutated into anti-men and began producing antimatter in their own bodies, they were left on Zeta Minor to maintain the balance whilst the surplus, in other words the original antimatter, was removed from the planet. So Zeta Minor still has the antimatter, the amount of antimatter that it's been just about coping with. Zeta Major, meanwhile, is an asteroid. Now, why Zeta Major is an asteroid? That's Major, you'd have thought would be a bigger thing, but hey ho. So anyway, Zeta Major is an asteroid, and that's where the project is continuing. And there are thousands of political prisoners and various other kind of like common folk are being transformed into anti-men and being shipped to Zeta Minor, where an equivalent amount of antimatter is then mined and removed. So, in other words, they're keeping the balance on Zeta Minor going. And no one listens to the Doctor's warnings that the interaction of physical laws from two alien universes will have fatal consequences for both of them.
And it's really nasty, like how they convert people into antimatter, like cutting open stomachs and inserting antimatter crystals. And of course, their technology is not very good, so it's, rusty knives and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So Ferdinand and Tegan, meanwhile, discover the truth about the Zeta project and lead a church task force to the asteroid Zeta Major to destroy it and break Christian's hold on the project. And the scheduled shuttle to Zeta Minor is delayed while the pilot waits for the church ship to leave the vicinity. And as a result, the anti-men on the shuttle grow too powerful to control and break free of their bonds. And Nyssa, who herself underwent the same horrific surgery and is succumbing to the antimatter contamination, although it is taking a bit longer for her because of her Trakan physiology.
Yes, which, has that ever come up before?
Maybe it's her peacefulness and her meditation that holds it back as opposed to physically.
Yes,
it is referenced.
Yeah. Yes.
So Nyssa's transforming at a slower pace, and she's able to deactivate Zeta Major's cloaking shield in the confusion, which alerts the ship in the solar system to the presence of this previously cloaked asteroid. And Ferdinand locks onto its location and destroys the asteroid with 2 Cobalt missiles, but the shuttle manages to disembark, although its crew is slaughtered by the rampaging anti-men. And at Tegan's insistence, Ferdinand docks with the shuttle, and the sole survivor, who fortunately happens to be Nyssa, is brought on board their ship, where she fully succumbs to the antimatter infection and must be chained up in the brig.
Poor Nyssa. When it comes to sequels to Tom Baker stories, she gets turned into a vampire, she gets turned into kind of like an anti-woman.
And then there's the Sands of Time, too.
Which I've not read, so I'm fully expecting her to be turned into a mummy in that. Poor Nyssa. But yeah, so Christian Fall takes the Doctor back to the Energy Tower, where they find anti-men roaming the corridors, whilst the physical laws of the other universe begin to assert themselves. And Fall finally realises that the project is doomed, and he's beginning to succumb to antimatter infection himself. However, he's able to resist it for a time and helps the Doctor to get back to the TARDIS. And the Doctor takes Christian Fall to Zeta Minor, where Ferdinand has just destroyed the mining operations and attracted the attention of an army of thousands of anti-men.
And these are like the 8,000 or so people that were left on the planet as to like maintain the balance with the antimatter.
Yeah. So Ferdinand gives his life holding them off, whilst the Doctor pulls the anti-Nyssa into the black pool that separates the 2 universes, which is a thing from Planet of Evil. And the anti-universe beings cure Nyssa in exchange for her knowledge of Brother Robeson's discoveries. and sends a representative to destroy the anti-men on the surface of Zeta Minor. It's also interesting because the anti-universe beings, because like we read a bit of it from their point of view, and they refer to the Doctor as the one who crossed, don't they? Which I quite enjoyed.
And it's not really ever explained like whether the antimatter crystals get removed from Nyssa or not. Like it's inferred, but it said she had to give up something, and it's like, okay, I think it was the equations, but
yes.
Yeah, that was. I kept waiting, like at the end of the book, like is she going through surgery? Are the crystals still there? I was very concerned about that plot point.
Yes.
So the Doctor then takes the survivors back to the energy tower, where they discover that the Imperial and Church fleets have been fighting each other in the solar system above to mutual destruction over control of the doomed tower. The survivors flee in escape pods, while the Doctor and Nyssa activate the tower and open the dimensional rifts. And as Robson had proved in his equations, the rifts are unstable, but the antimatter universe beings are able to use them to emerge and absorb the tower into their structure of being, becoming whole again at last. And realizing that he'll never be cured of his condition, Fall flees into the corridors of the tower and is killed by the encroaching anti-universe beings. And this, like, I couldn't really visualize it because, like, this tower is in a different solar system than Zeta Major and Zeta Minor, I think. Like in the Omega system, but maybe it's all in the same system. Kind of the spatial geography, I guess, was a little off for me, but maybe they just have a really long range of emerging from their pool or whatever. But
yeah.
So Falls flees into the corridors of the tower and he's killed by the the red outline beings from Planet of Evil.
Yes.
And the Doctor, Nyssa, and Tegan manage to escape in the TARDIS as the rift closes, leaving the scattered remains of the Morestrian Empire to pull themselves together and try and make a fresh start. And that's how the book ends.
Yeah. So, what did you make of this?
I did not care for it.
Yeah, I was thinking you were going to say that.
What did you make of it?
I really enjoyed it. I found myself swept up in this world. I mean, okay, sure, it is not anywhere that I would ever want to visit. It's horrific, and most of the characters that we encounter are various different shades of bad people.
Yeah, that was one of my major criticisms, was that there weren't really any good sides to root for in the power struggle, because everyone was depicted as similarly awful.
Yeah.
Which, in my mind, made the whole thing a bit pointless.
Yeah.
But I suppose very of the time and very Eric Sayward in that regard. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I just felt like there was a sense of doom throughout the whole thing. And I really did like we sometimes read kind of transcripts of battles and things like that, and sometimes that helps us, and that tells us of like events that have happened, so that we don't need to have kind of like some clunky exposition to get to it. And I felt that the book was well written, but I was also, as I was reading it, I was thinking, I think this is going to be far more my thing than it is Matt's. So yeah. I'm sorry.
And for me, I guess, like, I feel like there was like an opening chapter missing or something, where, especially for folks who weren't familiar with Planet of Evil, like, you're right in that it's standalone, but it also kind of just throws you into things, and it's like things have progressed 2,000 years into the future, and there could have been a few more points where some exposition would have been nice. I did like that they had like the communique extracts and the religious text extracts, and that kind of helped break up the narrative a little bit for me. But it felt like throwing you into the deep end with no life preserver and isn't drowning fun. Was the kind of the tone. It felt like a dark, Baroque, depressing read, I guess.
Yes. Yes. I mean, it was, but also, sometimes when we have writers who are kind of like dealing with these kind of worlds, they don't necessarily realize some of the kind of like the limitations. Whereas here, because like Planet of Evil, the only female person in Planet of Evil is Sarah Jane. And so I think it is interesting that we go into the social conservatism of the Morestrian Empire, and also as well, it is shown to be a bad thing. And Nyssa is like quite often comparing it to Traken, and she feels like Traken is a hell of a lot more advanced, and also like Tegan. Well, you can imagine Tegan is furious throughout most of this when she's not having her mind played with by Christian Fall. And I thought Christian Fall was a really good villain. I was delighted for his comeuppance. But yeah, I was enjoying his scenes with the Doctor. I mean, he does have this, not quite necessarily a Bond villain energy, but he definitely feels like a worthy opponent.
Yeah, and I didn't really cast him as like the villain of the piece either necessarily, because some of his motivations seemed reasonable. Like, he wants to overthrow the oppression of the church and all of that.
Yeah.
But for me, it was like, I kept thinking to myself, where's the baddie? Because 80% of the story goes by and we don't even get a hint of the red outline creatures until, and they aren't even the bad guys, but they're the alien, I guess.
Yeah, there was like an infection,
yeah. And it's for me, it's just, there was really nothing redeemable about the society. It was just an excuse for the author to share novel and unusual methods of torture and death being described. Like it was like almost like people out clevering each other to like, oh, you're gonna kill me? Well, I'm gonna kill you with this.
Yeah.
Almost in the Doctor and Masters back and forth in the Curse of Fatal Death, when it came to like one-upping each other when it came to torture and stuff. I think there was a missed opportunity too with Tegan being taken over, because this happens so close to Snake Dance.
Yes.
It would have been nice if perhaps rather than the Doctor freeing her, maybe the Mara would have freed her from the control as like a hint of things to come perhaps, or that there was something else in her mind.
Yeah.
There could have been like a throw forward there that would have been appreciated.
Yes, I was expecting some kind of Mara reference, I must say. But yeah. What do you think about the characterization of the TARDIS crew in this?
I actually really appreciated what he did with Nyssa. I thought, like, a lot of times Nyssa comes across as boring to me, but she had her own little subplot where she was going off to the academy and having to impersonate, like a higher up inspector and dealing with a lot of the misogyny and stuff thrown her way. And then also her, I want to say descent into madness, but, as the infection was taking her over, I thought that stuff was well realized. Tegan was also, I think, spot on, but it wasn't as, it was odd to me in that, especially when they're split up, I find Tegan's plot lines more interesting to me. And here it was the opposite, where I was more interested in what Nyssa was up to.
Yeah.
How about you?
I think they were captured well. I had read some reviews where people have said that like these are basically free characters that just happen to be called the Doctor, Tegan, and Nyssa, and I must say I disagree. I felt that I could imagine the Doctor perform, reading the lines and doing the actions, and and same with Tegan and with Nyssa, and I felt it came across true. I mean, they still kind of like talk about Adric, but also when you think of all of the big finish that's been set in between.
Yeah.
Like, no, she like, Nyssa wouldn't necessarily get over it, but, but it might have been less pressing in her mind.
I did not like that the Doctor was sidelined for much of this story with psychic attacks and stuff. Like, it did make, when he was present, all the more better, but it was like he spends large chunks of the story on the sidelines.
Yeah.
And I also didn't really like that the whole climax of the book, which is the Doctor and Nyssa descending into the pool, and all of that happens off screen, as it were. And they come back, and it's like, at least with Planet of Evil, you had, Tom Baker swimming around and like, shouting at things. Here, it was just, Nyssa and the Doctor crawling out of the pool, and they're like, oh, that was indescribable. They're on our side, by the way. And it's like, oh, well, that would have been a nice couple paragraphs to write out. So, that was disappointing, I guess, for me, too, in that the climax is kind of off screen, where the Doctor convinces the antimatter aliens to help.
Yeah. So, if you're going to score this, what number are you going to give?
I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10.
Oh, wow.
And it gets 1 point each for making Nyssa and Tegan's subplots mildly interesting. And it gets a point for telling some of the narrative in the form of excerpts and reports and stuff. But overall, I could not get into the story at all, and it was just I just found it a frustrating read.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go to the other end. I'm going to give this an 8. But I think I just found this thrilling, and I mean, it did feel like a complete world, a complete universe, and I felt I got a good sense of the culture, and it was certainly absorbing, and I found it kind of like cathartic in a way as well. So it might just be the mood I was in, and also the fact that this is a sequel to a story that I have fond thoughts for. So, but yeah.
And it could also be that I was perhaps fatigued with yet another story about the evil and gothic machinations of the church.
Yes, yeah, because I hadn't realised just how churchy it was getting. I was like, what? I have picked this 2 in succession.
It's not dissimilar to like St. Anthony's Fire or Managra, or what was the Empire of Glass.
Yeah,
kind of along those same, where you have popes getting assassinated yet again. I mean, like, is this our 3rd or 4th pope this year getting assassinated?
Yes. Yeah, and I think all of the pope assassinations have been in books that I've picked. I don't think. I mean, it's not quite as. I would say it's not as extreme as St. Anthony's Fire. But and I didn't find it necessarily as grotesque.
Yeah, not as graphic, but a similar amount of violence, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, there's a very high body count, but yeah. Well, well, we don't always agree.
No.
So and that's fine, and that's good. So yes. Yeah.
Well, shall we move on to listener feedback?
Yeah. Let's do that.
So we have an email this month.
We do. We heard from Amy, who said that they'd enjoyed listening to our episode about Illegal Alien, and the original BBC Books edition had a great cover picture. And Amy remembered that we were discussing which model of Cyberman this was, and that someone suggested possibly Moonbase or Tomb ones from the Troughton era. Amy says it is a Troughton era design, but it's not the Tomb Moonbase one. It's actually from the Wheel in Space. I also heard from listener Kenny Smith, who just messaged me with, "It's the Wheel in Space." Okay.
So this is the one depicted on the original cover.
Yeah, yes.
The reprint has a Cybus Cyberman on the cover, and then uses a Nightmare in Silver one on the spine. So all sorts of Cybermen.
Yes, all bets are off. So Amy adds that it's interesting that the same model of Cyberman was also used in a New Adventures novel, Iceberg. And so Amy reckons that the 90s authors agreed those were the coolest of the retro Cybermen, and also the toughest Cybermen that ever opposed the Doctor. As for which design is actually used in the text, the cyber tombs underneath London would suggest a design from the Invasion, but was anything actually said in the book to confirm this? So, like square heads versus round, 5 fingers versus 3. I don't think so. I don't know. I will need to read this again. And Amy asks, would we ever consider featuring an Iris Wildtime book without the Doctor in? And Wild Time Beyond by Paul Mars is one of Amy's favourites. So maybe we are entering a kind of like a between Doctors part of the cycle, aren't we?
Yeah, we did review the Celestial Omnibus, which is all Iris, but that was a anthology, so I don't know if she's referencing like an actual novel.
I think she is, yes. Yeah. We heard from Kenny, who was, as I was saying, was insistent that it was Wheel in Space.
Yeah, he says. He also says of Illegal Alien that it's one of his favorites, and he can't wait to hear our thoughts on it. And he says you can learn more about the book's creation in episode 368 of the Power of Three podcast.
Yes.
We've also heard from John Porter, who comments that Illegal Alien was a smashing book, and he calls it one of the better ones. He thoroughly enjoyed it, as well as its sequel, Loving the Alien. We heard from Doctor Who SSG, which stands for Solitary Story Group, calls Illegal Alien one of the best of the past Doctor range. And the Fantasy Bookworm obtained a physical copy of the PDA version of Illegal Alien to read along with us. and said they've been wanting to get more into the PDAs, and they're a big fan of the Cybermen when they're handled well, so they figure it was a good opportunity. And they go on to say that, yes, there's definitely a lot of plot in the book, and at times they found it convoluted and hard to follow, but it's small, poignant moments like the Doctor reminiscing on the events since Iceworld, or Ace reflecting on fascism, that made it a worthwhile read. And Ace really does go through the ringer in the story.
Yeah.
And finally, we heard from longtime listener Keith Say, who says of Illegal Alien that he enjoyed the excellent podcast. Thanks.
Ooh, very nice. Excellent. Good use of excellent. Right. So I think that gets us to the stage where you tell us what we're going to be reading next month.
Yes, and not a church in sight. So you might think, Chris, that we've concluded this Doctor cycle.
Yes.
And wonder what the first of our wild card picks might be. But sadly, we're going to have to wait another month to find out, because we have one more Doctor who is now eligible for a pick.
Ooh.
No, not Ncuti Gatwa. He becomes eligible in May of 2026, but we have the 14th Doctor. Specifically, Liberation of the Daleks by Alan Barnes and with art by Lee Sullivan.
Ooh.
And so published in November of 2023. It's been eligible for 2 months, but Chris, you went ahead and picked this fifth Doctor book instead.
Yes, to your chagrin, yes.
So I've been keeping that one up my sleeve there.
Yes. Yes. Oh, cool.
So yeah, so for
excellent.
February, we'll be reading Liberation of the Daleks.
Marvellous. Excellent. Our first R2-D2 book. Brilliant. It's good stuff.
And so far, I think the only 14th Doctor book. I think he has a couple of short stories out there in various collections, but this is, to date, his only novel-length or graphic novel-length adventure.
Excellent. And so this one will be quite widely available, I'd expect, on kind of your ebook providers of choice and probably in your printed format versions of choice. And who knows, it might even be in your local library. I don't know how much in the way of whether libraries are buying much in the way of kind of Doctor Who books these days, but it feels like that they may go for the one with that bloke in it.
All right. Well, until next month, this has been Matt in Minnesota.
Chris in South London. Stay safe, happy reading, and once again, Happy New Year.
Auld Lang Syne.
Thank you for listening to the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast. Special thanks to George C. Music for use of their song Doctor Who Theme Swing Jazz Version. You can follow us on Twitter at ANDWBC Podcast and like us on Facebook. Help other listeners to find us by leaving a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice. You can contact the show by emailing your thoughts to andwbcpodcast@gmail.com. And until next month, happy reading.
So, yeah.
Excellent. Cool.
This wasn't my favorite. There were a couple things that kept me hanging in there with it. So
Yeah. I will check and double check and check again to make sure that whatever I pick for next time features no churches, no popes.
The Rosy Adventures of the Rainbow World or something. If they've
Yes, yeah. Oh, gosh.
Having already read Liberation of the Daleks as well.
Yes.
I mean, I'll reread it for this, of course, but
Yes.
I seem to recall it being quite colorful and
Yes. I think it'd be quite fun.
Yes, I remember now. My researches. I'd discovered a new source of energy.
No, Professor. I think you'd abandoned that line. You decided to concentrate on deriving energy from the kinetic force of planetary movement.
Had I?
Yes, vast source of untapped energy there.
The kinetic force of planetary movement.
Goodbye,
What a brilliant
Wyszynski.
idea.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Goodbye, Doctor.
Goodbye, Wyszynski. Come on, Sarah. We've an appointment in London. We're already 30,000 years late.